When I was in Eitz Chaim in Toronto in 1967, Rabbi Nussbaum, I think Zatzal at this point, came into the classroom. Was around Purim time. He was principal of Eitz Chaim at the time, and he told us that he once turned on a light switch on Shabbos by mistake. He walked into a room and he turned on the light, and at first he was devastated. Oh, how could I do that? And it was, a nice thing for us to hear. I mean, I think the other kids in the class were a little older than I was. That's a different story. But and then he said, because it was Purim time, he quoted a Radomsker Torah that says that Bayom HaShevi'i Ketov Lev HaMelech Bayayin, that it was on Shabbos when Achashverosh started this whole thing, when he was feeling really good, and he summoned Vashti, and then it leads to the death of Vashti, and the death of Vashti, of course, opens up the the position of the queen for Esther. So that Shabbos, it was not a good Shabbos for the Jewish people at that moment. If you read the Gemara, he was putting a lot of pressure on the sages, saying, how do I handle Vashti? And they understood this was a lose-lose proposition, because if they said don't get angry, he'd be angry with them for not treating his cover properly, and if they said get rid of Vashti, then he'd be angry that it was their idea to get rid of Vashti, and they didn't know what to do. It was a difficult Shabbos. But the Radomsker says, it was still Shabbos. Meaning that even though at that moment it really looked dark, but the fact is that everyone was aware that because it's Shabbos, even when something looks bad, or it looks dark, or it looks like I made a terrible mistake, but if it's Shabbos, the sanctity of Shabbos is going to change you. And so if you turn on a light switch by mistake, said Rabbi Nussbaum, it's not the end of the world. Something good may very well come out of it. So I loved the idea. So I wanted to, I understood it had to be a mistake. I couldn't do it on purpose. But I wanted my father's permission to read the newspaper on Shabbos morning, because they used to deliver it, right? There was the milk box outside of our apartment where they would deliver the milk, so that they didn't deliver on Shabbos, but right next to it they would put in the newspaper every morning. So I wanted to read it on Shabbos, because I wanted to find out if anything happened in the world over Shabbos so far that would be an indication of, a big miracle about to happen. He wouldn't let me. He said, if it happens over Shabbos, maybe you should wait to read the paper on Sunday. It was so mean to me sometimes, But I guess it was good in the end. You know what? Worked out in the end. What do you know?